Hi, everyone. It's Black Spring with Autumn on your Thursday. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Let's see what shakes loose. All right. Thank you so much for tuning into this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And I just have a couple of pivotal pieces to share with you. But as per usual in this world, and the term is slant, we're going to throw that around quite a bit today. I'll tell you about that in the opening. But first, let's check our status. All right, everyone. I want to thank you so much for tuning into this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. I have a couple of things for you. I appreciate you guys as per usual. And let's just get going here. But first, I want to thank our friends on Twitch. And of course, if you have not joined us in our Rumble campaign, there's no time like the present. So hang tight. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. I want to thank you guys so much. And it looks like we have 22 Ronan here. How are you, 22 Ronan? Thank you. That's a very interesting proposition you have there. But right now we're not accepting those types of propositions for conflict of interest. Okay, so I appreciate you so much. We would love to you as always, 22 Ronan. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. So I want to jump right in. But before I get into this, you notice I entitled the stream slant. So I just, I'm going through in my head, okay. It just seems that we have a common thread. Is it a common thread of chicanery? Maybe. But I just think it just seems like just about everything, many things, or ideas or great intentions have a slant. Now, I figure civil rights have a slant. They had a slant. Not to mention, I would say the abolitionist had a slant. And in that, when I use slant, I'm using it in a bit of a, dare I say, it's a thin line there. It's a thin line in which if I go back to, say, for instance, like some of the heroes or what it means to be a hero, all of that the idea of it has had a slant. And when I think about even like the abolitionist, they seem to have kind of hitched even their mission to like feminism. I mean, when I think about it, I'm thinking about some of the personalities. It's like you could advance at that time. You get your name out there, get your ideas out there. If you were hitched to an abolitionist that, say, worked for a independent column or newspaper, or I think about, what is it? We're going back in history right now, just for a second, for slant, for foundational purposes here. Like I'm just thinking, like, so for instance, if you're not familiar with Sojourner Truth, who happened to be a freed woman who was born to slave parents, and she was introduced to an abolitionist, and that's how she actually ended up making her Ohio speech, "Ain't I a Woman?" Now that, my friends, that's a whole nother segment that I'd love to do. Because if we just look at the way things are right now versus the foundations that were laid, I mean, it's absolutely, there's so much possibility there. And who would have thought? Who would have thought posthumous Sojourner Truth that "Ain't I a Woman" would probably be very much challenged. It's going to be challenged today by the wokesters and the woke cultures, but still no slant, no less, catapulted her into the limelight. She was a freed woman, but because she had that feminist slant, not only was she a slave, she a freed woman from slavery. She was given this platform as long as she had that feminist slant that could be hitched to her cause. So to me, there was a bit of duplicity even at that time, and it's not new. So when we see these things, when people talk about things that, we've been talking a little bit about reparations, we've been talking about civil rights slightly, about how quickly things can be manipulated, but they've always been hitched. To me, civil rights was always going to be hitched to slant. And today that slant to me includes the LGBTQ, LGBT, whatever, MOUSE, there's your slant. Okay. Your femininity, your feminism is also hitched to what else do they call it? They come up with these terms, but they're doing it based on slant that's already existing. Slant. Say, for instance, they call it intersectionality, right? If you can branch, it's like spores. Once they get you on one thing, they automatically hit you. The slant has got you. You're caught in the slant. Okay, so that's kind of I don't know. Hopefully that I said something that made a little, that you could follow. Okay, that you could follow just a little bit. But I'm just saying, these lines are so fine that they're slant. The perspective, that there's enough slant for chicanery. Okay, we deal out, and those are my favorite words these days: chicanery or slant. Okay, so watch out for the slant because it's already there. Just make sure you're not. Just find out where you are. Okay. But it's just the language, like, to me, Marxism has a slant, integrity, and language. They also call it now. They just call Marxism, to me, is another word, has a slant. And then that is intersectionality. That's the new age word for it. So the more branches that you have, the more slant, the more branches, the more slant is possible. Okay. I'm just saying, they'll tell you, if you look back at this history books, they'll tell you right away. They'll say, "Oh, feminism was always twined." The word, the language right there, twined or twixt. I'll tell you right away, honey, your cause was never going to be pure because it was always slanted. It was always twixt to begin with. You had a side, you had a duplicity, or there's an angle in there to keep you from being a purist or a loyalist to either one of these. Betwixt, slant. Okay. So I could say, at least the chicanery. All right, guys, I appreciate you so much. So, like I said, I've kind of burned like 10 minutes and 43 seconds. So just look around, like, to me, even this whole thing with immigration and all, that slant, there's slant there too. Look at the situations of the border. Okay, so that kind of brings me to kind of one of the hottest topics. Are you guys aware that there's a bulletin out There was a bulletin that was placed. Homeland Security. Everybody aware of that? Isn't that interesting? What is it? Some odd 20 something, 6 months worth of, you can expect it. So what is it? 24, let's see, May 20, this was published on May 24th. Work with me. Just go with me. Ride with me on this. I'm going somewhere. Okay, so so you had 1 day ago, right? This is from DHS. So hit me with it, YouTube. National Terrorism Advisory System Bulletin. It was issued May 24th, 2023 at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you'll see a summary of TERRORISM related to threat to these, you guessed it, U.S. Okay, so I'm going to read it for you. And I find this very interesting. To me, we're on the fear porn right now. Yes. Seriously, because they're going to tie everything to, what is it? It's all going to be tied to one thing or another, right? You know, it's like, to me, it's a problem, reaction, solution, right? Is that it? Is that it? Is that what we're doing? Let me just show you. Just wondering if you guys were familiar with this. Okay, I missed it. What was it? Today's the 25th, so just yesterday, right? More than 24 hours, but certainly not 48 hours. Okay, so this is issued May 24th, 2023 at 2 o'clock p.m. It says the United States remains in a heightened threat environment. Lone offenders and small groups motivated by a range of ideological beliefs and personal grievances continue to pose a persistent and lethal threat to the homeland. Both domestic violent extremist DVEs and those associated with foreign, the T word organizations continue to attempt to motivate supporters to conduct attacks in the homeland, including through violent extremist messaging and online calls for, guessed it, the V word. In the coming months, factors that could mobilize individuals to commit the V word include their perceptions of the 2024, the GE cycle, okay, and the legislative or judicial decisions pertaining to socio-political issues. Likely targets of potential violence include U.S. critical infrastructure. Here we go. Look at this. Faith-based institutions. Somebody please come on. Somebody please come on here. I'm going to have to put this pendulum out here. Do you see? To me, every one of us, we're going to be on the LIST. You understand? Do you understand? You understand? You know what I'm saying? I'm going to put this pendulum out here. If you want to come on here, I'm going to let that pendulum swing, because this is going to get interesting, or this is going to run hot real fast, is what I'm saying. Hope you guys are doing well out there. So this is People's Pendulum. Come on in. If you haven't heard about it, you're going to be on it. Any opposition is enemy territory. You got me? I knew you would. Let me blow this. Let me put this up. Ooh, don't use that word. Ouch. Yikes. Okay. So let me put this in here. Got to be careful with that word. All right. So what does it say here? Where did we leave off here? So likely targets of potential violence includes U.S. critical infrastructure, faith-based institution, individuals or events associated with the L to the G to the T to the B to the T to the Q to the I to the A plus community, schools, racial and ethnic minorities, and government facilities and personnel, including law enforcement. So look at this now. Here's the interesting part. C'est très intéressant here. The duration it expires. It's issued for May 24th, 2023 at 2 o'clock in PM Eastern Standard Time, but it expires November 24th, 2023 at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. All right, so let's look at this additional information here. I'm not going to sit here and read this entire thing to you, but I kind of want to just grab the, just want to kind of grab the, just want to do a little bit of a summary here. You can do the rest. You guys, you're good. All right, so they give you a little something they're calling additional. This is informational. So you have the subheadings here, your text features. It features additional information, right? In May 2023, a now deceased individual blank 8 and injured 7 others at an outlet mall in Allen, Texas. Okay, so as you can see, you got a little bit of a timeline here. So basically, you're going to hunker down, right? Is that what you guys are going to do? Is that what you're going to do? You're going to hunker it down for the next 6 months? So then they give you May, they give you March 23rd. So it looks like they're giving you something every month, right? And then the next button the next bulletin, the next point goes on also in March 2023. In February 2023, let's just look at it. Since the spring of 2022, DVEs. So let's look at the language here. The DVEs, domestic. So they've got their own little. You're speaking in the codes. RMVEs. What is that? I don't know what the RMVE stands for. So we'll see about that. But you see, you got a little bit of a timeline here. And so if we wanted to really, analyze this thing, of course, maybe we would break it. Are we going to break it down? Should I pile all this information into a spreadsheet and say, let's go from state to state? Looks like you had an incident that happened in Texas, and then you had an incident that happened in Tennessee. And then we move on to the RMVE. So I guess, okay, I got it. So let's throw race in there. Racially motivated. Is that fair? Is that a fair assumption? It's not here for me to decode it. I'm just trying to use, just trying to infer based on prior knowledge. Okay, you can see that. So anything that involves the white man, I think is tapped with the RMVE. I think is that common? Is that fair to say? So, and yeah, if they say, hey, they even tell, who was it that saying that even Black people are capable of being supremacists, the Blanco supremacists, white supremacists, Black people can be white supremacists too. Okay, so anything similar to that is tagged under RMVEs. Okay, all right, so you can see you've got 1, 2, 3. They mentioned those in three separate dates in 3 months in a row: February, March, and May. Not in a row. Minus April in that one. Okay. So you just keep going. You guys should comb over this thing as you wish. Hello, Mr. Lines. Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it. All right. So you comb through this all you want. So I'm telling you right away, you have RMVEs. We're going to go ahead and deduce that. And if I were going to do this on a spreadsheet, that's probably what I would do. I would start out with something with the type, RMVEs, DVEs. I'd put the date. I'd probably include the place in which I put the state in which this occurred. So we had Texas, we had Tennessee, what was it? Maryland. So, and everything's coined with, they should put SOW, supremacy, white supremacy, white supremacy, white supremacy. They say it over and over again. Got to really get it in there. Okay. And then in the spring, they talk about more DVEs. Georgia. So you have Georgia. So on your spreadsheet, what would you throw in? Georgia, Tennessee, Maryland, Texas, 4 states with these instances. Okay. And it says, meanwhile, the last point says, meanwhile, foreign T's continue to use media to call for lone offender, but no mention, but there's no update about anybody that's been apprehended or who's been discovered from the watch list, the quote watch list at the border, right? You don't hear anything about that, right? Nothing, but isn't that bizarre? You've not had there's not been there's been no, you mean to tell me there's been no threat with the influx of illegals coming in? I'm just saying. I don't see that listed on here. But they're saying, therefore, they're showing you, they're forecasting 6 months, roughly 6 months. A bulletin, terrorist advisory system bulletin. And then they tell you how they're responding. DHS. So there's no mention. I don't see anything on here related to, right? Have you guys read, if you're on here with me, have you seen anything yet mentioning the border? Not worried about that, right? They're not concerned. Not concerned about unvetted people. Not concerned about, we talked about a little bit about what's happening in Chicago with people's gymnasiums and schools. But, there again, they love to, like I said, they've massaged people into a crayon color, a color that's in a crayon box. Yeah, they basically have told you that immigration is your problem because you are with the people of color. You're a POC. So that's your problem. That's your problem. Okay? And you need to let them use those facilities, homes, whatever. But meanwhile, you get on the waiting list, okay? You get on the waiting list with your tax dollars. Ronan says they have a plan. It's moving fast. That's what it says. Okay, so let's keep going here. I just said this bulletin is, do you guys feel informed? Okay, so let's go with it. So they want you to know how they're responding. DHS works with partners across every level of government, in the private sector and in local communities to keep Americans safe. Except for one place. Somebody say it. Hit it. Including through the following examples of our resources and support. So you see, you got all your 3-letter agencies in here. Let me go here. Let's see. I'm skipping down to something that stuck out to me right away. It says the DHS Center for Faith-Based and Neighborhood Partnerships continues to engage a coalition of faith-based and community organizations, including members of the Faith-Based Security Advisory Council. Who out here is familiar with that? I'm not. So I just thought that was interesting, right? I just thought that there's no, I'm just saying, okay, here is resources to stay safe, stay informed and prepared. So yeah, be prepared for emergency situations and remain aware of circumstances that may place you at risk. Make note of your surroundings and the nearest security personnel. Keep yourself safe online and maintain digital and media literacy to recognize and build resilience to false or misleading narratives. Okay, all right. And then they give you a very specific one here. Prepare for potential AS incidents. Build counter improvised. Yikes. I just, is there somebody out there that's, I think I put this, the pendulum's out there for sure. But yeah, this is all very interesting, right? How many months to this whatever election stuff that they have going on? How much longer to that? I mean, it's also summer. So I say this every summer that there's something to be born. I think this one is especially one. I think this is no exception. Okay. So keep an eye out for that. Just keep an eye out for it. Okay. Appreciate it. So I just wanted to share that with you if you're not aware of it, if you're not, jump on to, I mean, this is from their site. So if they, if YouTube gets all touchy and everything, this came from dhs.gov in NTAS. advisories. Okay, that's where this comes from. It's not Black Spring. It's not Black Spring making anything up. I don't have to. It's right here, right? So check it out for yourself. Look at it and look at the causations or the potential. Look at, read it. Read them all. Read them all. Okay. And we'll keep an eye on this one because this is 6 months, right? 6 months. 6 months you have to deal with that. All right. And then I have, what else do I have? Just brief. I just wanted to look at a couple of things, not a ton right now. I did want to say that I didn't talk about Mr. Gates having he has a new patch. All right. We're going to go to that. All right. How's everybody doing? MicronBiomedical.com. I'm going to take you to that. All right. He's got this new thing for you. Of course, he always does. He's always got something for you, whether you want it or not. Okay, but it's for babies, all right? It's an ouchless situation. But let's go to it, shall we? All right, so this is going to be from Micron. Let's see, Micron Biomedical or something. All right, this is for infants, just to let you know, okay? All right, and this came from the Children's Health Defense, okay? So I just thought you might like to know. I'm just probably gonna stick with these two pieces because I'm telling you, a lot of this stuff is so heavy. A lot of it is one to watch, and that's what we're gonna be doing in many cases, okay? All right. All right, so let's look at this one, okay? Let's look at it. The trial of Gates-funded mocktail patch for infants successful, the company says. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share this with you. I appreciate it. Gotcha. Thank you so much, Ronan. I appreciate you so much for coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and share that one with you. And this is probably going to wrap us up because it is Thursday. And I want you guys to just have these little bits and nuggets and know what's out there. Okay, so let's look at this one really quickly. Very interesting, right? Okay, so according to this, the trial of Gates-funded mocktail patch for infants successful, the company says. Now, this is an Atlanta-based biotech company last week said it successfully concluded the first ever clinical trial testing with help from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation of a microarray injection free mocktail on children as young as 9 months old. Looks like this was penned by Brenda Belletti, PhD. All right, an Atlanta-based biotech company last week said it successfully concluded the first ever clinical trial testing of a microarray injection-free mocktail on children as young as 9 months old. Micron Biomedical tested microneedle-based delivery of the measles rubella MR mocktail on children in Gambia with backing from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Microarray injections are administered via a microneedle patch that looks like a Band-Aid and is applied by pressing it to the skin. Once applied, the microneedles penetrate the upper layer of the skin to deliver the mocktail. The study, which researchers presented last week at the Microneedles 2023 conference in Seattle, evaluated the safety and immunogenicity and acceptability of the leading commercially available MR mocktail from the Serum Institute of India, delivered by Micron's microarray technology in adults, toddlers, and infants. Proponents of this mocktailation method, such as Gavi, you guys remember Gavi from Africa and some of these in India, not too long ago, they partnered with MasterCard to get you guys your bio stick ready. Okay, the Mocktail Alliance, of which the Gates Foundation is a founding member, called the patches, quote, the future of Mocktail Nation, where these life saving interventions are delivered painlessly without the need for syringes or perhaps even trained medical professionals, end quote. Supporting innovations in mocktail delivery is critical to addressing ongoing health inequities, end quote. James Goodson, co-inventor for the study and senior scientist and epidemiologist at the CDC's Global Immunization Division, said in the press release. He added that the study also is a key step toward getting the patches licensed. Developers tout the technology is painless. It feels like Velcro, they claim, and more thermal stable than traditional mocktails. This would make widespread global distribution of the mocktails easier, they said, particularly in developing areas that may lack infrastructure such as refrigeration and trained professionals. I wonder where the pilot testing came from. How they know so much about inequities, and under what circumstance did they ever have a chance to see how well that was working out? What other mocktail has been on the brink recently? Mocktail market worth billions. Micron CEO Stephen Damon said, quote, Micron, with support from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the CDC, is thrilled to accomplish a major milestone in the future of injection-free administration of necessary and potentially life-saving mocktails and therapeutics. With this trial, the company remains at the forefront of bringing microarray-based mocktail products to market, Damon said. The Gates Foundation, the CDC, UNICEF, PATH, another heavily Gates-funded organization, and the Georgia Research Alliance provided Micron with $40 million in funding to develop its microneedle patch technology. In 2017, the Gates Foundation gave Micron a $2.2 million grant to develop the microneedle patch for the MR mocktail, and another $900 million in 2022. Gates had previously awarded Micron $2.5 million to develop a microneedle patch for polio as part of the foundation's effort to eradicate polio. In the last several months, Micron also received significant funding from investors like Global Health Investment Corporation and LTS Loman. And less than 2 weeks ago, just before it presented the study results at the Microneedles 2023 conference, the company secured an additional $3 million investment from J2 Ventures, bringing its total series of funding to $17 million. Series A funding, the first round of equity financing for a startup company after it has demonstrated some success with funding, precedes a public offering. Trials for mocktail patches against the CV-19, seasonal influenza, hepatitis B also are ongoing, while patches against HPV, typhoid, and rotavirus are in preclinical development. Does somebody out here know what rotavirus is? Just help me out here. The microneedle mocktail market for the flu mocktail alone is projected to reach $2.3 billion by 2023. Last year, Mark Prausnitz, PhD, co-founder and chief scientific advisor to Micron Biomedical, presented Micron's technology at a White House panel discussion, Innovation in Mocktail Delivery. The panel, chaired by Dr. Francis Collins, then director of the National Institute of Health, explored, quote, a path toward innovative next-generation CV-19 mocktails and mocktail delivery technologies. Quote, this technology has revolutionary potential for extending the reach of mocktails in low-resource settings and during pandemics. David Hoey, a president and CEO of Vaxxus, a biotechnology company based in Brisbane, Australia, told Gavi. Hoey's company has patches against measles, rubella, CV-19, and seasonal influenza in human trials. Safe and well tolerated with no allergic reactions or related serious adverse events. 45 adults, 120 toddlers, 15 to 18 months, And 120 9 to 10-month-olds were enrolled in the clinical trial and randomized to receive the MR mocktail either via Micron's microarray or through subcutaneous injection, meaning beneath the skin. The study has not yet been published, but in a press release, Micron reported that mock donation by microarray was found to be safe, quote, safe and well tolerated with no allergic reactions or related serious adverse events. The study reported similar seroprotection rates of approximately 90% or more after 42 days for the groups that received the microarray and subcutaneous injections. Quote, generally, parents were very positive about the ability to mocktailnate their young infants without a needle, end quote, Damon said. Transdermal patches have been available for illnesses such as motion sickness, such as 1979. Many types of medications cannot be delivered through the skin because the skin is an effective barrier. According to Gavi, mocktail developer Proutznitz spent years trying to develop ways to cross the skin barrier to aid in drug delivery, but it wasn't until he began collaborating with people who had expertise in computer microchips that he was able to find ways to penetrate the skin's natural barrier. Then each mocktail needs its own formulation that can work with that technology. According to Fierce Pharma, Micron's decision to roll out the first ever test of the new technology on children in Africa, quote, reflects a belief that microneedle technology is particularly well suited to the administration of mocktails in that part of the world. Quote, microneedle technology such as this is viewed as being a key component to measles control in sub-Saharan Africa and elsewhere. This reflects, amongst other things, the potential ease of delivery, reduced cold chain requirements, and absence of sharp waste, end quote, Ed Clark, PhD, said in a statement. See, all of this is they've got a solution for every problem, right? Solution for every problem. Clark, the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine researchers leading the study, also received money from the Gates Foundation to study other mocktails in Gambia. Many scholars have raised concerns that research conducted by international organizations in the global south, and by the Gates Foundation in particular, can lack accountability and lead to serious harms to the population being tested. Imagine that. One paper published in the annual survey of international and comparative law found, quote, these health campaigns carried out in India and Africa under the guise of saving lives have relocated large-scale clinical trials of untested and unapproved drugs to developing markets where administering drugs is less regulated and cheaper, end quote. The Lancet's editorial board also raised questions about Gates-funded research in low-income settings, pointing to the foundation's limited transparency and tremendous power to direct health programs and research with its funding. So here you go. I just wanted you guys to know about that. Don't let it get under your skin. No pun intended. But chew on that. Like I said, this is one of the lines, slant between the lines that we can look at. You have to question. Okay. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate it. Friends and Code, thank you so much for coming in. And 22 Ronan, thank you so much for coming in. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your Thursday. And we'll see what shakes for the weekend. Listen, one more time before we leave. Let's give a shout out to our friends at Rumble and Twitch. All right. Thank you guys so much. And hopefully I said something stimulating and that you can sink your teeth into later, or something thought-provoking. All right, guys. Have a great rest of your Thursday. And who knows, I'll see you around. If not, I'll see you later. See you later in the weekend.